Okay, quiet on the set, tape's rolling.
Hello, thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert. I'm Segalla. I'll be your moderator. I'm also president of the Calaveras County Taxpayer Association, and we really are interested in getting good information to the public about what's going on in government. This is a special show because we have a man from the Sheriff's Department that does everything. And so without too much more words, I'd like to introduce Greg Stark, Sergeant Greg Stark of the Sheriff's Department. Greg, welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
And this is our handshake. So, you've been with the department for how long?
Right about 26 years.
26 years. You must have started when you were 12.
Almost. I started when I was about 20 and a half.
Oh.
I started as a correctional officer in the jail, and I worked my way up through the jail to patrol, corporal, sergeant, and I'm now the administration sergeant.
Yeah, and you're also a public information officer.
Correct. That's one of my duties.
Yeah, and then you're also involved with Swat Team and search and rescue and emergency preparedness. Oh my goodness. And of course, if somebody wants to get information about the Sheriff's Department, or maybe wants to learn about how to become a sheriff deputy, they would contact you, and I think the phone number is 754-6500, and they ask for you.
Yes. They can also go to our website, and we have a recruiting video there, and we have a presence on social media at Facebook, on our Facebook page also.
Oh, well, you're pretty well organized.
We try to be.
How long's your video?
There's several of them. It's about 2.5 minutes long. It showcases some of the more enjoyable side of law enforcement, some of the things we have, so our office, and try to entice new deputies to come give us a look.
I got to watch that because we'd like to feature law enforcement as often as we can in today's environment. We think the education for young people and the public about what law enforcement really is, as opposed to what some in the media say, is very necessary if we want to preserve our free society.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
Now, do you have a family?
Yes, I do. I have a wife and 2 kids.
How old are your kids?
21 and 19.
You got married when you were 12.
12 and a half.
Looking back over these years, what are some of the things that you like most, and what are the things you were more of a challenge?
So, some of the things I like the most, it's never the same day twice. As you mentioned, I'm on a bunch of specialized teams, so there's always something to do that's different. The calls are never the same call. There might be dispatched to a disturbance call, but it's never the same disturbance call. Even if some of the people that are involved, that you've dealt with before, each issue is different, and it's a challenge to solve the puzzle, to come to some type of resolution to make people as happy as they can be. That's probably the most exciting part of the job, is you don't know what you're going to get every day. From the car stop to the calling somebody on the phone, you absolutely don't know what it is, and you have to be able to think on your feet and solve problems.
Almost like being a psychiatrist.
I wouldn't go that far.
Or a bartender.
Probably closer to a bartender, but I wouldn't go that far as a psychiatrist. I don't have that many letters after my name to claim that.
Well, a good psychiatrists solve people's problems through talking it out and reason,
Right.
and allowing the positive part of our brain to overcome the emotional part
Right.
so that we can make good decisions.
Right. We do a lot of driving, a lot of talking, and a lot of writing.
Yeah.
You have to be good at those to be successful.
Well, one of the things that, of course, is very important is youth. And I understand that there's a good outreach program, including videos. And how would, if I were a teenager, one thinking about becoming in law enforcement, what do I need? What do I learn?
So we have a pretty robust Explorer program, and they're basically cadets, and they come on ride-alongs with us. They work in our dispatch center in the front office, and they basically are getting a feel for what law enforcement's like. In addition to that, we have an internship program. It's a paid internship for young persons who are in college. We work around their college hours, and we give them hours to work at our office. They work dispatch, they can work in evidence, they can work in corrections, they can work in the front counter, and it gives them exposure to all aspects of law enforcement. Some people find out they really like the corrections, and some people find out they really like the evidence technicians. It gives them a broad base to pull from, and hopefully we get to show them what a great place it is to work. And when they're done with school, we can sponsor them through the academy and get a long-term employee out of them.
Now, when they do these different jobs, do they wear a uniform?
Yes, there's a special Explorer uniform. There's a training program for the Explorers. They work frog jump with us, fairs, parades. It's a really good way for us to get to know them and them to get to know us on a different level. Just law enforcement, they really help us out quite a bit.
That's totally cool. Now, one of the things you do is probably the most dangerous thing is the SWAT team.
It's fairly dangerous, but we have calculated risk, and we use the best tactics, the most recent tactics, and specifically de-escalation techniques, so we can get a peaceful resolution to pretty much any situation is our goal. We have crisis negotiators, our hostage negotiation team, and they're
the psychiatrists.
They're the psychiatrists, and we support them as much as possible to get them talking as much as they can. It's a win when they come out on their own. When they can talk them out, and we have some really good crisis negotiators that can really get into people in crisis and give them the time and the distance to calm down, to start, I don't want to say thinking rationally, but kind of get the weight of their decisions and come to the conclusion themselves without us having to take any force. That's our primary goal, and I'd say we're really successful at that.
Huh. My pay job is I'm a realtor, and at our realtor office we have we sell little pins that are actually pepper sprays. And I bought one. I thought that's a cat's meow. It's a lot better to use that than to use a gun.
Absolutely. I mean, the least amount of force you can use is possible, and realty and crisis negotiation isn't really that far apart. You're both trying to sell something that's beneficial for the other person. You want to sell somebody a good house at a good price that they can afford and that they will enjoy.
Right.
We want to explain to the people that are in crisis or angry that, hey, this is in your best interest to come out peacefully and take care of this peacefully. So there's a little bit of sales going on there.
Yeah. Actually, it's kind of like helping people have a better life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Sometimes if they go too far and make decisions they can't take back, you can't unring the bell sometimes, and if we can prevent them from ringing that bell, that's a win.
Yeah, that's cool. You also are involved in search and rescue.
Yes, sir.
And that's also dangerous, but maybe not as dangerous as SWAT team.
It offers its own challenges. We have a search and rescue team. There's about 7 members on the department, and we have about 30 to 35 volunteers that come out with us to go search for people who are lost, injured in the wilderness. There's many aspects to it. There's canine, there's high-angle rescue, low-angle rescue, swift water. There's a tracking. There's the overhead command that will help track people that go in the field. There's a communication aspect to it. So we have everybody. We have persons that are as young as 84 years old, and as young as 20 years old on our team. There's a spot for everybody. Always people will say, "Oh, I can't go out and hike. I can't go out and dangle from a helicopter or rappel." No, but I'm sure there's something you can do. You can run the radio, you can help clue logs, you can help us do mapping, you can help us prepare assignments, you can drive teams to and from where they need to go so that cut down their walking time. We have a place for everybody on search and rescue. and the goal is to return the lost person to their loved ones, and that's another one of the rewarding parts. When you can return a lost kid to their mom and dad, you don't forget those. Those are really
Yeah.
rewarding.
I imagine cell phones are a great benefit in locating somebody.
They help in the personal locating the beacons that are out there. There's certain manufacturers where you press a button and it broadcasts your location to a command center that will triage it and send it to the right law enforcement agency. Unfortunately, with those, people feel safer and they'll take additional risks and push the envelope. So now they're maybe going someplace they typically wouldn't go without their safety net of the locating beacon, and they kind of get themselves in a little bit of trouble, but that's been few and far between. Cell phones help also. The more towers we get up, the more we're able to communicate and get locations for where people are at or their last location before their cell phone dies.
My cell phone is also GPS.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can locate within just a few feet. And I imagine if I was out in the woods, there must be some way that my location could be given to search and rescue so they can find me.
In an emergency situation, we can complete paperwork to go to your whatever service carrier you have and try to find you. Cloud cover, terrain, lack of towers, battery on your phone,
Right.
all those can hinder how accurate that is. Sometimes we get it back and it's in with 10 miles. Sometimes we get the last cell tower, which is in another county. And if you're in a good location, we can get it within, yelling distance.
Yeah.
So it's useful, but it's not a catch-all.
Huh. How many, in a typical year, how many of these incidents do we seem to have?
We'll have anywhere between 12 and 18 activations, and activations could be as little as, I haven't talked to my brother, was supposed to show up at 8 o'clock, he hasn't shown up yet, can you go look for him? And we'll ask where he went, we'll go to the trailhead, if his car's there, we go looking, or we'll get there and he's just running late, took a nap, whatever.
Yeah.
Or somebody will call and say their child's lost, and we start the team and they find him sleeping under the bed or something. So a true activation could be as little as a half hour, or we'll go a week looking for somebody in the woods.
You get to a week, there could be a chance that they may not survive.
Until we find them, there's always a chance, and we don't give up. I mean, we look everywhere possible for that person, and whatever state we return them in, we're going to do our best to give them back to their families.
All right. Now, when we started the program, we talked about if people want to get more information about the sheriff, not just joining the sheriff's department, but get updates on what's happening. They can call 754-6500. Is that correct?
That's correct. And ask for me, and they'll transfer you to wherever I'm at. Sometimes I'm not always at my desk. If you leave a message, I'll do my best to call you back as soon as I can.
And then also you have a sheriff's department website.
Yes.
That what's the website?
It's calaverascountysheriffs.org, and if you just type that into your search browser, it'll pop up, and you could scroll through the different icons, and you can drill down into each category. Volunteers, search and rescue, our EOD team. There's little snippets of that on there, as well as all our press releases that we put out. And then if you go to our Facebook page, there's videos, photographs, and you can research the most interesting news releases or whatever you're looking for.
So the these videos that you do for updating what's happening, is that on Facebook or is that on the sheriff's website?
So it's on Facebook. Our videos linked to our joint Facebook, our Join the Sheriff's Department is linked to our Facebook and our website. Our video was produced by an outside agency. We typically don't do updates by video, but our recruitment video is one we were talking about earlier.
Right, and your recruitment video is fairly short, is that right?
It's about 2.5 minutes. It's pretty impactful though. I think if you watch it, I think you'll get a kick out of it.
I'm gonna do that. I'd like to learn more about it. on emergency preparedness. Now that's very important, and you help people with that as well.
Yeah, so specifically in the last storm we had, the last winter storm where it dumped several feet of snow up in the higher elevations, some people were, I want to say, caught off guard, but they might have got a little more snow than they were expecting. And there's some things that they can do to help mitigate the impact to emergency services. Little things like knowing how to turn your water valve off if you get a broken pipe in the winter. Having extra food and water on hand so you can sustain yourself without having to call for additional services. Having extra gas for your generator. Making sure that you have alternate heating sources in your home. Wood stove, a backup generator that run, heaters. Don't use propane heaters inside. Don't bring your barbecues inside. Making sure that you can sustain yourself and your loved one's medication. That you can sustain yourself for several days, because sometimes trees go across the road, sometimes there's power lines down, and sometimes the roads are just so impacted that we can't get to you. We had our side-by-side vehicle. It's a side-by-side vehicle with tracks that allows us to go over the snow quite easily. We were using that extensively with Ebbets Pass Fire Department. We teamed up with them and had a command post at their office with our OES from the county, and we took a multi-agency approach to go help people. Even then, we couldn't reach everybody as fast as we'd like, and though the road department was doing a really good job plowing roads, there's just so much they can do, and you got to be able to stay prepared and sustain yourself until we can get there and help.
How many days do you think a person should be equipped for?
It's hard to say, but I mean, I'd shoot for a good 7 days. If you could do a 7-day supply, and that'll go for what happens if the water breaks. If there's the earthquake, there's fires, there's massive winter storms. Having at least a 7-day on hand, we generally can either call in additional resources through the OES support system to reach everybody, or we can take care of ourselves within 7 days. That's a really good rule of thumb.
All right. Now, OES means Office of Emergency Services?
Correct. I'm sorry. Should explain that a little better.
Okay. Probably everybody knew that anyway. I always wondered on the case of fire, this is maybe not a topic for a sheriff, but it seems like some buildings are safer than others. Some buildings got metal roofs, and they got stucco walls, and they have non-flammable decks, maybe concrete decks, and other ones are tinderbox with maybe cedar shingles and wood siding, and all it takes is for an ember to land on those buildings, and they got a good chance of losing their structure. Well, it seems like there ought to be some way of grading structures so that the people that have a more fireproof structure can get lower interest rates. Lower premiums for their fire insurance. And also, if there's a structure that's very safe, it seems like the sheriff might want to know about it, because that could be a place where people can go fleeing other structures that are not safe. It's just an idea, but I wonder if there's any effort to do such a thing.
I know Cal Fire specifically, and our local Fire Chiefs Association, they have an outreach program to try to teach people best practices to reduce fuels around your house. And I'm a law enforcement officer. I'm probably not qualified to talk about fire preparedness to any great degree, but I know reducing the fuel around your house, making sure you have an exit plan ready to go, that you know what items to take, and you don't wait too long. I know when fire says it's time to go and we should evacuate, and law enforcement says let's evacuate, they're not doing it to inconvenience anybody. We're actually trying to save lives.
Right.
One of my duties, I work with an incident management team with Cal Fire, and if there's a large incident throughout the state, we'll get deployed to go assist other agencies. I was up in Reading last year for about 2 weeks, helping with the Zog fire and evacuating and repopulating areas. I do know there's a mechanism that they use to triage houses for protection, and I'm quite certain if you go to their website, they have a complete list of specific things you can do to reduce your risk of losing your house to a wildfire.
Is there some sort of waterproof, not waterproof, but fireproof spray that people can spray on their roof or spray on their walls that keep the fire from burning?
Again, I am no expert on this.
No, it seems like they ought to if they don't.
I have seen, not to be too morbid, but if a fire is going to come through, you can take steps to prevent your house from getting burned. But when whole neighborhoods are getting wiped out and when whole shopping centers are gone, I don't know if there's a product out there that would prevent your house from getting,
Right.
causing ignition. It might slow it a little bit, but I think that probably better answered by a professional, professional firefighter.
We covered search and rescue, emergency preparedness, and a little bit about the SWAT team. Maybe we can look at youth outreach a little bit more. What do you see a young person? What can a young person learn? We know we can go to your website, and there's a video that they can watch. It's a short video, 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I think you mentioned that they can join this youth group.
The Explorer program.
Explorer program. Okay, if they're not an explorer, how would they become one? Oh, is there a website for explorers?
There's an icon on our website, our main website for explorers. And if you contact the office, we can route you to one of our explorer advisors. We have, I believe, we have 4 right now. A sergeant, corporal, and a couple deputies, or a couple corporals and a couple deputies that are assigned to that. They have monthly meetings, they have trainings, and then again they go out on patrol with the deputies. And I started as an explorer many years ago. I was an explorer for a few years down in San Joaquin before I transferred up to as a correctional officer in Calaveras. And it was a kick in the pants. I mean, you get to go ride around the cars, you get to stand with them on car stops, and get exposed to things that a majority of the world doesn't see. Some of the things that happen, you wouldn't believe it if you saw it, and it's happening, all the time. And just seeing things and being exposed to stuff, it's really a kick to watch the kids go through it because it makes you excited again. It brings it back new.
Some years ago, I was director of the Calaveras County Chamber of Commerce. And we started a program called Leadership Calaveras County.
Mm-hmm.
And so every week we go someplace. We got to see the water
Mm-hmm.
district, and then the Sheriff's Department gave us a ride. We get to ride around in the patrol car, and that was most enjoyable. And I don't know if they do that anymore.
The leadership program?
No, if the public is not part of the leadership program, can the public ride around?
Yeah, right now we're limiting it to people who are either explorers or in the hiring process, just because of COVID restrictions.
Right.
But once those are lifted, people come out frequently and they'll go on ride-alongs.
All right. I was thinking that maybe we can offer to the Taxpayer Association people that they can get more familiar with the Sheriff's Department.
Absolutely. Once the restrictions are lifted to the point where we're allowed to have you, we'd love to have you. We can give me a call and we'll schedule it.
Yeah. Now that'd be next month, right?
If I could wave my magic wand, yes.
At your website is really a place to go for somebody that wants to learn more about the Sheriff's Department. And they can call you at 754-6500. And the website is Calaveras Sheriff's
If you type in Calaveras County Sheriff's in your web browser, it'll pop up.
Okay, Calaveras County Sheriff's
Office.
Office.
There you go.
.org.
Don't quote me on the org part, but if you put
Maybe
it in
not .org.
if you put it in the search browser, it will come up.
All right. Now, we have about 4 minutes left. We can cover some of the things more thoroughly that you're interested in. And let's do that. What is the most important thing that you think we could chat about that the public would be good for the public to know?
So right now, the sheriff's office is using a statistical approach, easy for me to say, to law enforcement.
Right.
So what that means is we gather intelligence from all the calls for service that come in, and we deploy or disseminate that to our deputies. So they have limited amount of free patrol time where they can, go look for apprehension or for suspects, rather than taking calls for service. Those are statistic driven. So the most important thing I can tell people is call. Oftentimes I talk to somebody, well, I didn't want to bother you, or it wasn't that big a deal. Well, if we don't know what's going on, we can't put resources there to help the quality of life issues. Yeah, what you think is insignificant of so-and-so driving fast up and down the street, or parking in a weird area. People know their neighborhoods, and they know what the normal ebb and flow is of traffic and who's who and who's coming and going. If something's out of the ordinary, we'd like to know that. And if we're handling something that's an emergency, we won't go. But if we have free time, we'd like to know about it, and we'd like to take care of that. So the biggest thing that I'd like to have people take away is just give us a call. Let us ask you some questions. Let us enter that into our database so we can get the most accurate information, so we can give the most accurate information to our deputies so they can make the best of their time. We have strategic areas that and it fluctuates. Sometimes there's a lot of problems going over here. We put a bunch of deputies over there, and it kind of goes away, and we're kind of chasing the problems around and taking care of them as they come up. And if we don't know it's there, it kind of skews our numbers. So please call, please call, please call.
Well, and the calling, if it's an emergency, it's 911.
Yes.
And if it's not an emergency, it's 754-6500.
Yes, sir.
All right. We have 2 minutes left now. And what's the next thing that you'd like to communicate?
We'll go back to the search and rescue,
Okay.
and I'd like to do some preventative search and rescue. So some of the common issues that we come across when people go missing, they don't tell anybody exactly where they're going. Or they'll say, I'm going up the Highway 4 corridor and I'm going to go hiking.
Right.
Well, if you could tell somebody I'm going to go on this trail, I should be back at this time, this is where I'm going to park, that'll narrow our search from the Highway 4 corridor to this specific trail, and we can get you much quicker. Always go hiking with a buddy. Take a cell phone with you. Make sure you have adequate food, water. You're in physical condition for the hike. Take in mind the weather, whether it's going to be extremely hot or cold. Is there a cold front moving in where you should maybe not go, or expect snow and take the appropriate equipment with you? So lack of preparedness, going by yourself, not telling anybody you're going, those are probably the top 3 issues we run into of why people go lost, and making it more difficult for us to find them.
Well, I sure appreciate that. It's bad enough to be lost, and then be lost and hopeless is worse.
Yeah, that's not a good feeling.
Well, we appreciate having you.
My pleasure being here.
We hope you'll be able to come back again.
Absolutely.
And thank you for watching Taxpayer Alert. We'll see you next time.